Hello, and welcome to Learn, Live, and Prepare. In this video, we're going to be demonstrating some pruning tips. Before you get started with pruning, it's a good idea to ask yourself why you want to prune the tree. Assess the area before you get started and identify the main branches that you want to keep and the branches you want to remove. Also consider the time of year that you plan on pruning. Often it's best to prune in late winter and early spring. Another thing to note, this tree you see here in the center frame is an ice cream bean tree. I forgot to include this in our walkthrough of our food forest, but this is another great edible fruit and nitrogen fixer to add to the garden. As you can see, it's in need of some pruning. This has never been pruned before. It's probably about a year old. And below it there is our Grummy Chama, which is a slow grower. And this is probably 4 years old. So it's starting to get to the point where it's going to shade out our Grummy Chama, which this could open up the discussion of right plant, right place. We planted a fast growing tree next to a slow growing tree. The fast growing tree is definitely going to win the competition. But when you're limited on space and property, you probably tend to overplant like we do. So anyways, let's get right into the pruning. Down here, this isn't anything that we need a saw for. Just your good old pruning shears. Take those off. Anything that's probably about a 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch. For example, here's a 3/4 inch. You can get away with the pruning shears. Even that's starting to be a bit of a challenge. These ones are smaller, but try to get as close as you can to the collar. That way that collar can heal over. But you don't want to cut through the collar and damage it. All right, now that we got those out of the way, these pruning shears aren't going to work very well on this branch here. Anything over 1 inch, you're going to have to get up to the loppers or a saw. Before we cut this one, I just want to show you what I mean by the collar of the tree branch here. This is the collar of the tree branch. You can almost see the branch coming out of it. You don't want to cut this. You do want to remove this. You don't want to cut it too long, because if this rots, that decay will go into the tree. You want to get it as close as possible, but not too close to damage this, because you want this to heal over and close that wound. So you can use a saw for this, or you can use loppers. I'm going to use loppers for this one, just for a demonstration. Okay, for this branch here, I'm going to demonstrate pruning with a saw. You want to make your first cut underneath the branch. Only go about 1/4 of the way through. And then your second cut, you're going to come from the top. You don't want to do your first cut like this, because what's going to happen is it's going to tear, and you don't want that to tear all the way down the side, damage your cambium layer. So cutting first underneath, about 1/4 of the way through, creates a stop cut. Your second cut then will be about 1 inch away from that cut, and you'll go all the way through. You see how it stopped right there? That prevented that damage, that tearing from continuing down. Now you can make your final cut when there's no weight on this branch where you want it to be. Again, don't damage the collar. You can see right here. So we're going to go ahead and cut it right about there. All right, let's demonstrate that one more time with a larger branch. Through the bottom, and then about 1 inch away from the top down. I probably should have went a little bit farther, because it didn't actually tear down to that crack. It started to crack about midway. If you can, take off more weight from this branch on the ends. That'll help prevent this. But this was far enough away from where I want to make my final cut. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, Now we've got it pruned up and our Grummychama can get a little bit more light. I took off a little bit more than what I wanted. Generally, you don't want to take more than 25% of the branches off the tree. But this tree I know can handle a good hard prune. And we're not gonna let any of this go to waste. In another video, I'm gonna show how to propagate this by cuttings. So that's gonna wrap this video up. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you found this useful and informative. Until next time, take care.